Welcome to the first ever episode of Gotham Outsiders, a Batman book club. I'm Chris, a Batman obsessive, and this is my co-host,
TJ, a slightly less Batman obsessive.
We briefly talked about what to call TJ, and he rejected the notion of novice because he knows too much, and I said he should be an acolyte because of Court of Owls. What do you think, TJ?
That sounds fine to me. I'll take what I'm given.
So, Batman Book Club is a once monthly podcast where we and a number of guests talk about a different volume of Batman and Bat Family and the extended Batman and Gotham related universe and discuss it together. We'll have exciting upcoming guests from comics writers to Batman academics, or Batcademics, as I like to call them. Anything to add, TJ?
Just that this first episode is an introduction of me and you and our relationship with Batman.
Right. It's your chance to get to know us before we start getting to know other people who are connected to Batman and hearing their stories. So, should we start with how we know each other?
Sure. So I worked at a bookstore for a couple of years, and Chris would come in every so often. And by every so often, I mean pretty regularly.
Like every week. Let's go ahead and put me on blast.
You know, sometimes we'd miss each other, but most of the time I was there and we'd run into each other. And Chris was always looking at the graphic novels. And one time we just got talking about how I was such a Marvel fanboy. I know this is a Batman podcast, but we will establish that I am at heart a Marvel fanboy.
And while I am a Batman fan primarily, I love Marvel too. So there's no Marvel hate in this podcast.
Right. So our relationship at the bookstore started off of me being like, oh, have you read this Marvel comic? You should read it. And then we would just geek out about all the Marvel movies coming out. And I'm sure we talked about Batman at some point. But our friendship just kind of went from there.
I am pretty sure that the first Batman comic I told you to read was Batman Eternal, and I am only about 70% sure that I started this podcast to force you to read it at some point.
I did try to read it at one point, and it wasn't bad, it just was a lot. So I think I only got about maybe almost halfway.
And it is absurdly long. For those who know, it is a giant size, mega series of Batman comics, so it is long.
Yeah, you're like, how do I describe this?
Yeah, I'm like,
what? Of an event?
It is it was the 75th anniversary of Batman's creation, and they went all out. So we'll talk about it more later. But so our friendship started at a bookstore and talking a lot. TJ was briefly convinced I was hitting on him, but I really just wanted to talk about superheroes.
Right. We are both queer, and it would have never worked out, but
literally impossible. But
me.
And I just wanted some of his comic collection.
Yeah. I remember the other day you mentioned to someone that you were like, yeah, TJ, the way you told me you were gay was very aggressive at first. And I was like, yeah, that's because I thought you were coming on to me.
It was about the second time we talked, and you were like, I, TJ, me gay, pretty much.
Well, you had asked for my phone number or something, and I was like, oh gosh, here we go. Here we go again.
Oh, it happens all the time. I am ace arrow, so there was no risk of that, but I've also been told that I'm an accidental flirt, so.
And then, Chris, did you want to talk about how you first got into Batman?
I will. So my road with Batman is a long one. I truly don't remember a time when I didn't consume some media related to Batman. The earliest being the Batman animated series, which is still widely regarded as an amazing take on Batman. And that was my whole childhood, was watching that show and being very obsessed with it. And then Batman Beyond came around, and it was mind-blowing. It was obviously aimed a little older, and it was edgier. I mean, looking back, it probably was pretty cheesy too, but it felt edgy when I was very young. I watched all of the Batman movies that were out at that point, and then the Nolan movies came out, and of course those were amazing and mind-blowing. So Batman in TV and Batman in movies was primarily my childhood. I didn't get into reading Batman comics until I was in college, which was a decade ago, and I am still in college because I am getting my doctorate in psychology. So I've been reading Batman comics for a decade, and I've read a bunch of old titles. I've kept up with some current titles. My current running favorite title, though it was just canceled, is Batman and the Outsiders. My primary one that I like to read the most is the Scott Snyder runs and the Tom King runs, but I love a wide variety of them. And what is your background, TJ?
So how I first got into Batman, pretty similar to you. As a kid, so I'm a couple years younger than you. So
Yes.
I missed out on the animated series, at least as it was airing initially, but I was just at the right age for the Batman Beyond series when it started. So I was very into that. And I think especially because Batman Beyond had such a different tone, since the main character was like more quippy, a lot more like Spider-Man, who's one of my all-time favorite characters. So I was just really into Batman Beyond. And then I had my grandfather, he was super into Batman for whatever reason. And I remember he had a replica of the Batman cowl from the Tim Burton Batman movies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and like I used to always want to play with it and put it on, but he had it up really high, like on display somewhere, and he was like, "No, this is not a toy." But anyway, he, I think, introduced me to the Tim Burton Batman films. So I was really into those, especially I loved Batman Returns. I loved Catwoman in that movie a lot. Who doesn't?
Oh.
And then, of course, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin were just so much more cartoony and fun. So
Yes.
I really loved those as a kid. And I remember being so into Batman and Robin. And, you know, it's a whole different feeling towards it nowadays. But back then, I had a huge crush on Robin, I'm sure. The bat nipples in that movie. And just Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy. It was all so much fun.
Oh, I still love that movie. It is cheesy beyond belief, but it is honestly so much fun.
Yeah, it's like, I'm excited to revisit that at some point. It's been
Yes.
years since I've seen that. But, and then, of course, like the Nolan movies came out, and they were just so good. And it was a completely different experience with Batman, and it's just taken off from there. I've read some of the classic comic books, like The Dark Knight Returns, The Killing Joke. But besides that, I haven't read a ton except for the couple that you've recommended to me. So this is going to be a journey for me of discovering new Batman, and I know a lot of the lore, but I haven't experienced it. So that'll be a change.
I'm excited to take you on this journey. And you mentioning the older Batman iterations reminds me that I forgot to say that my other favorite one as a kid was the 1960s totally over-the-top wild Batman. And I still love that one.
I'll be honest, I think I used to own a DVD as a young kid that had like a couple of the episodes, and I think I watched it, but wasn't one of my favorites, so I didn't really retain anything from it. But nowadays, like, it's such a meme thing on Twitter, so that's my real experience with that.
It's so camp and it's so bad, and all of my terrible bat puns are originating from that show, so you can blame it.
And that's what the Joker has a mustache. Is that right?
Yes. Oh yes. Everything about it is so weird and delightful. So what is your favorite character in the Bat extended universe?
Ooh, I am a huge Harley Quinn fan.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say she's more like an anti-hero? She's not a hero.
Yeah. I would say she and the Sirens are all anti-heroes. I wouldn't call them proper villains. And the Sirens for the newbies are Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman.
So yeah, I would say Harley Quinn is my all-time favorite Batman character. But if we're talking about like one of the Bat family members, I really like Dick. I like Dick Grayson. I love some Dick, but I also really like Jason Todd. I just like a good bad boy, and I like his backstory, just all the tragic, and I loved Under the Red Hood movie. So Jason Todd is probably my favorite, but and Dick Grayson,
and again, you love Dick.
Got the butt. Dick's got the butt.
Dick has canonically the best butt in all of the DC universe, and we cannot go a full episode without mentioning it.
Who's your favorite, Chris? Your favorite character?
Well, my favorite character is Tim Drake, third Robin, world's best detective, and constantly forgotten member of the family.
Who? I'm just kidding.
A knife to the heart.
Is he the only one that hasn't had a live action? Because we have Dick Grayson, we have Jason Todd.
Well, now I don't think Damien's had a live action. Am I forgetting something?
You're right.
Yeah, the younger two, for the newcomers here, the younger two Robins, Tim Drake and Damian Wayne, have not shown up in any of the live action. They have both shown up in animated versions, though. Tim Drake is in the Young Justice and in several of the Batman animated movies. And he's in Batman Beyond.
Yeah, I definitely want to rewatch all the animated shows here soon, just because it's been so long.
It has been a long time. Yeah.
So your favorite is Tim.
Yes.
I feel like we have to bring up your TikTok cosplays. You want to talk about that?
Oh, now I guess I have to. Yeah. So over at the beginning of when COVID started, we went into quarantine and I was incredibly bored. My niece, who is much more TikTok age appropriate, convinced me to start cosplaying on TikTok. I had been cosplaying at cons for several years, which actually you started me doing, TJ, because you told me I looked like Squirrel Girl. And that was the first time I cosplayed.
I had no idea I was your cosplay origin story.
You were. So the first time we went to Comic-Con did we go together or did you? I don't remember now.
First time I went to Comic-Con was last year when we went together.
So you convinced me to go and then did not yourself go. I think I do remember this. But I went as Squirrel Girl. So I ghosted. You did. I've been cosplaying for several years, but I'm now doing it on TikTok semi-regularly. And one of the characters I've started doing recently is Tim Drake, both as his regular Red Robin and as Cat Lad, a version of him that only exists in the hearts and minds of people in the fandom.
And you had people convinced that Cat Lad was a real character?
I did. Right? I got a few people who asked me what comic he was in, which was very entertaining. And in their defense, these were both Batman fans, but the world of Gotham is so sprawling that to imagine any one person could know everything about it would be pretty ridiculous. So they were like, which comic did this show up in? What AU is this? And I was like, Archive of Our Own.
Oh my gosh.
I was not the originator of Cat Lad. It started on Archive. I don't know who started it, but at this point it's a fan-owned thing.
So then, completely unrelated question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Batman movie and or TV show?
Ooh, that's hard. So I've watched at least some of all of the Batman related shows. I have not watched all of them. That's so many episodes of television, but I would say it's probably a tie between Batman Beyond and the original animated series, and they were made by the same people, so to me they feel very much of a kind. I love those a great deal. I also am not finished the first season, but I really do love the Pennyworth show that was on Epix, and so those were probably show-wise. Movie-wise,
I've seen a few episodes of Pennyworth. It seemed pretty good, but like I like a good superhero show, and that one seems a little bit more like James Bond-ish.
It is more spy drama, which is in line with who Alfred is. To be fair, he's never been a superhero. He's much more of like a soldier.
I did like their young Alfred, though. I thought he was a great pick.
I do too. I also think that the villains get much more super villain as it goes. But as far as movies go, I have said this before to you many times. I maintain that Lego Batman is the most accurate Batman movie and is my favorite.
I finally started to watch it the other day. I got about like 10 minutes in, and then my internet stopped working. so I've
unfortunate.
Yet to finish Lego Batman, but it seems so cute. And I just remember the opening song he's singing. There's a line where he's talking about how he doesn't pay his taxes because he's rich. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. So
It's
I'm
so good.
so excited to finish it.
It is so good. We might have to do a whole episode on Lego Batman because I have many feelings about it. It's so good. All right, TJ, what is your favorite of the shows and your favorite of the movies?
I love right now my favorite, if this counts, the Harley Quinn cartoon.
Yes.
Would you count that?
Yeah. On this show, so going forward, I count Batman related properties as part of the Bat Family extended universe. And Harley came out of the Batman animated series. So
right. It's so funny, and it's like super feminist, super queer, just so good. And of course, I said my favorite character was Harley Quinn, so no shock that her show is my favorite.
That show
and we
is
talked
amazing.
about cosplaying. Like, I would love to do like a male version of Harley Quinn at some point, and have my boyfriend do like Poison Ivy, like a version of Poison Ivy. I had said for him to do. I was like, oh, I could be a male Harley Quinn. You could be Joker. He was like, no, I hate the Joker.
I also want it on the record that I hate the Joker. We just get it out of the way right now.
There you go. So yeah, I figured, yeah, he could do Poison Ivy, and he's into plants. So
yeah, he is half Poison Ivy already, so it would be just a slight jump.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Maybe for Halloween I'll be male Harley Quinn.
And you can put it on TikTok.
I don't even have a TikTok yet.
Oh, we'll get you there.
For my favorite Batman movie, I feel like The Dark Knight is like unanimously the best Batman movie, but I love The Dark Knight Rises a lot, just personally. And then, not that it's a good movie, but I feel like we need to talk about Ben Affleck in Batman v Superman. Yeah, I love him.
I love him too. Yeah, so this is one of I think these two opinions are really controversial, and we both hold them, which is that The Dark Knight Rises is a good movie. Some people don't think so. And that Batfleck got the short straw. Like, I truly do believe that he was in terrible movies, but I think he was a good Batman.
Agreed. He was the best part in Justice League and Batman v Superman.
I have rewatched Justice League just for him because everything else is a hot mess, but I love my Bat Dad, and he has just hardcore Bat Dad energy.
You're braver than me. I haven't rewatched Justice League.
I have. It's very bad. It did not get better.
I'm holding out for the Snyder Cut.
Oh, the Snyder Cut. There was definitely a brief period of time where we discussed calling this podcast the Better Cut, didn't we?
Yeah, we started out like, oh, we could do a superhero podcast where we look at superhero movies and then talk about how we would make them better and call it the Better Cut. And then you had this idea for a Batman podcast, and I slid in your inbox and was kind of like, hey, would you want to combine it with this idea? So here we are. This is my long con to get you to read all the Batman comics that you have borrowed from me and have not returned. Do you have any other intro stuff you'd like to talk about, Chris? Or do you want to move on to discussing the Batman teaser trailer?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, TJ, because I actually have some questions for you as our Batman acolyte.
Okay, go for it.
I was going to ask if you knew who had the best butt in the DC universe, but you pretty much led with that one.
Oh, yeah, I know my butts, Chris. You know that by now.
I should have. The fact that I doubted you, it is a shame upon me. So I have a few other questions to see just where you fall on the spectrum of being a little bit too into Batman. How many Batman writers from the comics can you name off the top of your head?
Okay. So the more recent ones that I've read, and I think we just mentioned them not that long ago, Tom King. I was going to say Zack Snyder, but I know it's not. I know it's Snyder. Is that Tom?
Yeah, Scott Snyder.
And then I know Grant Morrison wrote some Batman. Figured that out today at some point. Because I saw he had created Damian, and I was like, oh, Grant Morrison made Damian Wayne? Okay. And then Frank Miller, who wrote Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
Jeff Loeb wrote Hush.
Yep.
And I think that might be it. I know there's more in my head, but I can't think of any other titles.
So one that you didn't mention is one that you and I both met together, James Tyrion IV, who wrote one of our favorites.
Right.
And one I always have to throw out there. There's so many, and we could talk. We'll talk about many of them, I'm sure. But I also have to shout out Peter Tomasi, who wrote one of my favorite Bat titles.
Yeah, I love Detective Comics. I read like the first 2 volumes, and I love comics that have like a team of heroes, and especially when it's a young team of heroes, that's like my shit. So Batman training a team of young heroes is my thing. And I got 2.5 volumes in, and I loved it, but they started, funny enough, they started referencing Batman Eternal in the 3rd volume, I think. And I had to put it down because I was like, I don't know what's happening. But I really loved the first couple arcs.
I'm sure we will get back into Batman, Detective Batman, because I love that run especially. And our writer James Tyrion IV is now writing one of the main Batman titles, so it's pretty exciting. He is also a queer author, so that is pretty exciting to us as well. And it starred Tim Drake, which, exciting to me.
Which one?
The Detective Comics that you read.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the new one he was writing.
No, the one that we both read starred, the Robin that it features is Tim Drake. How, considering we talked about the movie Batman versus Superman, how would you describe the relationship between Batman and Superman in the comics?
I know how you would describe that. You, I think, would see them as boyfriends.
Do I sometimes ship it? Yes, I confess. I don't think it's canon, but I do enjoy it. But
darn.
I don't know. We will end up reading at some point one of the Batman / Superman comics, which is how they titled it. And I don't know how they thought I was going to read that. And those are hella gay.
It's like the Spider-Man Deadpool comic where people are like, you know what you're doing. You know. We'll also talk about, as part of the extended Batman universe, the story of Midnighter and Apollo, which started as Superman / Batman fan fiction and became canon, but new characters. I did read that. I read that. You told me to. You told me it was gay. And I said, okay. And I binged it in like a night. No, you were very right. And it was very, very good. I'll be lying if I say I don't ship Midnighter and not Tim Drake, Dick Grayson a little bit.
They are very cute. And they have a cute, like, several flirtations periodically in the stories. But no, in all honesty, Batman and Superman, the idea of having a versus story is very much like a fan thing. In comics canon, they are best friends, and they get very offended when anyone suggests otherwise, and it's hilarious to me. So I know you can name all 4 of the main Robins. We've talked about this, but we've also talked recently about how there are more Robins than just the 4. Can you briefly explain how Batman acquired his Robins?
They all have dead parents, right?
No?
So
No.
Do you want, is there one general answer, or do you want like each situation per Robin?
I'm just like maybe a short bit about each of the, we'll stick with the main 4. Let's put it that way.
So I know Dick Grayson was a circus performer, gymnastic, and his parents, I guess they fell and died during a performance.
Right.
And at least in one of the versions I've seen, Bruce Wayne is in the audience and feels super responsible for this kid, so he takes him in, and then he just starts being Robin.
I mean, pretty much, yes.
Okay. Jason Todd, this is after Dick Grayson has graduated to Nightwing.
Yep.
And Jason Todd, at least in the issue I read, I think it was Rebirth or New 52, he was stealing the tires off the Batmobile.
Yes.
And Batman is kind of like impressed by him and realizes he doesn't, I guess he didn't have a family. I think he was living on the streets.
Right.
And he was like, all right, well, time to adopt another orphan. I need a new sidekick.
That's it. Yeah, you've got it so far. 2 for 2.
Then, next would be Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be honest, I don't think I know anything about Tim Drake.
His origin is my absolute favorite. The very short version of the original origin. There's been retellings since then, but the original origin is the one that I love, is that he is the only person in all of Gotham to figure out who Batman is. And as a child investigator, that's why I said he's the best detective, he concludes that Batman is Bruce Wayne and that the newly dead Robin is Jason Todd. And he tries to go convince Dick to come back as Robin because Batman is in a spiral and he's worried that it'll result in him killing someone. But it doesn't work, so he decides, I have no choice but to be Robin myself.
Oh my gosh.
It's the best.
And now you said there was 4 Robins?
Yes. Can you remember who the 4th one is? You've mentioned him today.
Oh yeah, Damian Wayne.
Yes, Damian Wayne.
Oh, I do know him. I know his story because I just watched the Son of Batman movie.
Yeah.
He is the son of Bruce and Talia al Ghul. They have a kid, and she is like, hey, Bruce, here's this kid that we had. Can you please raise him? You're rich.
That's kind of what happens in the comics.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm tired of this little brat. Can you please raise him? And Bruce is like, okay, I need a new sidekick again. Sure. And he's an assassin already, so he's already trained Robin.
That's almost what happens in the comics. It depends on the version too. This is part of the thing. Like Tim and Damian's stories are a little less concrete than Jason and Dick's usually are at this point. But Damian, he is the son of Talia al Ghul, daughter of Ra's al Ghul. It's said wrong in the movie. I do know this. It's not Ra's, it is Ra's. So she is the daughter of the League of Assassins leader, and she has a son with Batman. Sometimes that is by stealing his DNA, depending.
Okay. In the animated movie, she like drugs him and seduces him, but it's implied that he liked it, so it's fine.
Oh, geez. We'll have to get into that at some point. Oof. Yeah, it's complicated. But yes, so Damian ends up with Bruce. There are different reasons depending on which comic, but basically, yes, Talia either brings him or he decides he wants to go, but he ends up with Bruce, and Bruce tries to raise him to be better than Talia raised him to be. All right, those are the questions I had for you.
Well, how'd I do? I feel like I maybe passed with like a 60%.
You did pretty good. You led with the butt question, which was your strong suit, obviously. I think you did pretty good. You could have definitely named some more writers for sure, but the fact that you knew most of the backgrounds of the main 4 Robins, and let's call out the fact there are more Robins. We don't want to forget Stephanie Brown, my girl, and also Duke Thomas and his crew of Robins and all the AU Robins that exist, but you got the main 4.
And this concludes our episode of Who Wants to Be the Next Bruce Wayne Billionaire?
Is that how you do it?
Apparently.
We won't have to pay taxes anymore. Whoop. So should we get into the main meat of our episode, aka the trailer discussion?
If you insist.
I insist.
So had you watched the trailer before now?
I have not. I am one of those people that will put off a trailer because they make me very nervous. I don't know how I'm going to feel about them, and I usually wait a long time to watch them. So I watched it today for this recording, a little while before we started recording.
Okay, so I've seen it like maybe 3 times now. I also just rewatched it once before recording this. And I've seen some videos that like deconstructed the trailer clip by clip. So I'm pretty educated on this
I have seen it
and trailer.
I have seen it once, but I already have strong feelings, so we're ready.
All right. So I actually made notes.
I'm so excited.
Of what was happening throughout the trailer. So the first thing I have is that it's, in my opinion, it seems darker, similar to the Nolan vibe more than the Batman v Superman Batman vibe. What do you think?
So too, I mean, you're always going to have a level of dark when it comes to Batman, but it does seem like it is going more the Nolan route than it is the, I wouldn't say that Batman v Superman Justice League Batfleck is lighthearted, but there is more of a softness to him than other versions. He's older, he has had more experiences, so he's still brooding, but he definitely isn't the young, troubled Bruce Wayne that we seem to see in this trailer, and that does remind me more of the Christian Bale Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, the Batfleck in Justice League was like, he was almost like we keep calling him Bat Dad. He was like the dad of the group, especially
He
to
is.
Ezra Miller and his Flash.
That is my favorite part of that movie and why I keep watching it, because if it's not clear from my love of the Robins, Bat Dad is my favorite version of Batman, and that I feel like the only time we've really got to see that outside of Lego Batman is in the Batfleck version as he interacts with Ezra Miller.
And I am so glad that Ben Affleck is coming back in the Flash movie. It's going to be so great.
We're here for it.
All right. So my next note is the music. The song at the beginning, nothing against it, but it does sound like something I would listen to in middle school when I was very angsty.
It sounds like the kind of song I was listening to when I was originally watching Batman Beyond. I agree. I think it was a weird tone to set. I'm hoping that's not what the soundtrack is going to be like.
Yeah, it was almost like somber.
Yeah, I think so. The whole trailer was mostly somber. I'll mention as we go along the few points that made me laugh, I think unintentionally.
Okay. How did you feel about the Batman suit? Because I really liked it.
I liked it too. I think we've talked about this before, that I am not one of those people that obsesses over the suits. It's not one of the things that stands out to me usually, unless it's terrible, that'll stand out. But this one felt on par with me the other ones we've seen.
Yeah, I like this one. So I just rewatched The Dark Knight recently, and that suit was very much like, it was very smooth and looked very rubbery in the light, whereas with this one in this trailer, to me it looks much more realistic, like something anyone could go and make in their basement with, whatever tools they can get if they're a billionaire.
Yeah, if they're a billionaire being an important point. I love the concept that all superheroes are good at arts and crafts. I couldn't make myself a suit. I could barely make myself a cosplay.
That's his real superpower.
Yes, arts and crafts. That's real.
Have you seen the theory, or actually, did you notice that the bat symbol on his chest was made out of a gun?
I didn't notice this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there's a theory that the symbol, which is made out of a gun, is the same gun that killed his parent.
This shouldn't make me laugh as much as it is making me laugh. I like that. I think it's interesting as a dynamic, but it really makes me think of The Fault in Our Stars for all those John Green fans out there. It's like, it's a metaphor and I wear it on my chest.
Yeah, like it seems a little silly, but
yeah,
at the same time, I'm like, if we're putting a gun in his chest, like what is what else is the reason? Like I feel like it has to be that, but it's almost so silly that I don't know if I believe it yet.
It's kind of funny. I want to know if there's one of the pearls from his mother's necklace in there.
Oh my gosh. Maybe it's like the head of the bat on the bat symbol.
It is, or the little eyes, little beady eyes of the bat.
Yes. And then, so right after we get our first look at the Batman suit, we see Jim Gordon.
Jim Gordon!
I think he looks great. I think he looks like he jumped right off the comic book page.
I agree. He has great Jim Gordon energy. I love this actor. I love this casting. I love that mustache. I'm here for it.
Me too. I saw a comment on the YouTube trailer that said, oh, this is such a good actor, but they should have cast him as Lucius Fox. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, he looks so much like Jim Gordon, has the Jim Gordon vibe. Just because he's black doesn't mean he should be Lucius Fox instead.
It's really infuriating. I hope we do get a Lucius someday. I would love that. I think that'd be great. I am glad that this man is Jim Gordon. I think that is amazing casting. I am glad that this movie is willing to have more diversity in their cast. Depending on the writer, Batman comics can be really diverse, and some of the writers whitewash or focus on the white characters more. So I'm excited to see a movie that's more willing to make Gotham look like a diverse place.
Me too. And I guess now's a good point to bring up Zoe Kravitz as
Zoe
Catwoman.
Kravitz.
Yeah, I'm excited for that casting too. And Catwoman is usually white as well. Is that right?
Yes, except for in a version that we're going to talk about very soon on one of our episodes, which is Gotham High, which, side note, is terrible. I guess spoiler alert, is terrible. But that version,
but in a fun way.
In a fun way, it is Batman through the lens of Riverdale, basically. And in that version, she is Black, but that version just came out, so it would have come out concurrently with their casting of her. It wouldn't have influenced it in any way. All other versions of her have been white, as far as I know.
And yeah, like you said, it makes sense that the cast would be more diverse if this is a city that's supposed to be like Chicago or New York City. Obviously, there's more than just white people, especially in those cities. So like, it makes sense. I'm totally fine with Selena and Jim Gordon being Black. I think it's awesome, and I think they look very accurate. Even if they're Black, like, it doesn't matter. They really have the essence of those characters down.
I agree. I think it's wonderful that they're doing this. I love that. I love this casting. I love their energy. They radiate those characters to me. I know we saw Selena maybe 5 seconds, but I was already like, Selena! Like, I knew immediately who she was in the trailer. And Jim Gordon, I knew immediately who he was. It was just really good. I think it's a really good trailer cut. It's really good casting. I'm excited for a new, diverse version of Gotham.
And now, how do you feel about seeing a more hardcore version of the Riddler?
I think this is going to be interesting. So I didn't mention the Riddler earlier when we were talking about favorite characters, but if we did have a drawn out discussion about villains, like I imagine we will, Riddler would probably be somewhere in my top 10. I do like him a great deal, but I've never taken him seriously. I enjoy him as kind of a funny character. I enjoy him as like a mood lightener. One of my favorite takes on him is the version in the children's, like the young children aimed Superhero Girls cartoon, where he is like love-struck idiot teenager. I love him as light. So I'm very curious how I'll feel about him as dark. And this definitely seems like a really dark version of him. What do you think?
Yeah, he's definitely getting the Nolan treatment here.
Yes.
And the only versions of him that I've been exposed to are the Jim Carrey, the Jim Carrey Riddler from Batman Forever.
Yeah.
Who, he was fine for that version of the Riddler, obviously super different. But then also from the Hush movie.
The Hush movie.
I don't want to talk about that yet, but was not a fan of how they did the Riddler in Hush.
I agree.
Or Hush in general, let's be real.
Yeah.
And then he's also in the Harley Quinn cartoon, and everything in that show is kind of portrayed as a joke, but especially the Riddler character was definitely there for comedic purposes. So in this trailer especially, it didn't hint at any sort of comedy. So I'll be curious to see how they make him, if they'll make him funny at all.
I hope so. I mean, I'm here for him to be dark, but I would love some dark humor. I would be down for that, because in the trailers so far, I mean, obviously we've gotten so very little of what's going to be in the movie from this trailer. It was a short, very short trailer. But from what we've seen so far, he really gives me Nolan's Joker vibes, especially that scene where the hostage comes in with "For Batman" written on his chest. I think it could be funny. So far, the trailer is also just kind of like vaguely horror movie-esque with the way it's like he's playing a game with him. I don't know. It is interesting. I would like to see this, what they're going to do with it.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I love a good slasher thriller movie, so I'm down. And I just want to point out, my note for Riddler from the trailer is, he ain't messing around.
I think that is fair. We see him. He is playing mind games, but like with a death toll. The trailer starts with this horrifying ripping sound, which is him duct taping over someone's face. Horrifying.
Yeah. I'm very, very intrigued to see, especially since you just mentioned the horror aspect. You're totally right, and that hadn't occurred to me before.
Right? And there's another part of the trailer that was particularly, I don't know, horror-esque, but interestingly enough was focused on Batman that really stood out to me, which I think if I'm not mistaken, the sound just cuts out for a second and we just get the sound of like flesh hitting flesh as Batman like beeps a villain to a pulp. And it's horrifying.
Yeah, and it's a meme nowadays. People keep using it on Twitter as like, if someone says something stupid, then underneath is the video clip of him just pounding this guy.
I didn't see that.
It was brutal. And I mean,
it's brutal.
Compare this to, so in Batman v Superman, Batman was pretty hardcore. I remember people being like, wow, he probably just killed people. Yeah. Like, and no one's talking about it. But with this trailer, like, we're seeing him just decimate this dude. It's a little bit more intense, I think.
Yeah, my immediate reaction was, I don't like this. And then I had to think it through where it was like, well, it's not like he doesn't do that on the comic page. I just am not forced to hear it. And I think the hearing it was what was like really throwing me about how vivid it was. Because you've watched many a superhero movie with me, that I have a low tolerance for violence. We watched Logan together and I hid behind my hands for like 75% of that movie. So we'll see. We'll see how much of this movie I will see, but I will definitely watch it.
Yeah, again, another good point that it's more brutal, just like how Logan was more brutal. There was way more blood. And this is definitely going to be a PG-13 movie, though. Yeah. So I wonder how much blood they're going to be able to get away with.
Yeah, that's fair. This isn't the Titans TV show where they like step on the guy's neck and then say fuck.
fuck Batman.
Fuck Batman.
Titans. So there was a shot of the Penguin in the trailer. Did you catch it?
I totally missed it. Tell me about the Penguin.
So there's a real beefy dude at one point in the trailer, and it's actually Colin Farrell, but you can't tell that it's him because he's wearing so many face prosthetics, and it looks really good.
Every time we talk about Colin Farrell, which has been a strange amount of times, considering we also talk about Fantastic Beasts sometimes, I always have to mentally remind myself whether you're talking about Colin Farrell or Colin Firth. And there was a hot second there where I thought of Colin Firth as the Penguin, and I did not like it.
Oh, no. So in my mind, the way I keep them apart, Colin Farrell was Grindelwald, at least in the one movie, and Colin Firth is Kingsman.
I mean, I know who they are. It's just their names are so similar. So my brain was like, are we talking Grindelwald or are we talking Mr. Darcy? And I couldn't tell you for a second.
Gosh, Colin Firth, though. Imagine him in a Batman movie.
I would do just about anything to see him in a Batman movie. I really think, considering
just about anything.
Just anything. We can debate what that is.
Colin Firth, what do you want? Just tell us.
We'll do it. We'll make it happen.
But like, imagine him as like, he seems like that perfect, well, maybe he's a little older now than what I'm thinking of him, but as Alfred, like between the Alfred from the Pennyworth show and like Michael Caine's Alfred, he's like somewhere in between, and I would love to see that Alfred.
I would love to see that Alfred too. I maintain there is no other British person in all of the Bat universe, so he would have to play Alfred.
Speaking of Alfred, I'm looking up who plays him in the Batman because I haven't heard anything about it, and it looks like it's Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis, who was from Lord of the Rings most famously, and has been in a superhero movie before. Do you know which superhero movie he was in?
Of course I do. He was actually in 2. He was in Age of Ultron, and he was in Black Panther.
He was. Wait, wasn't he in X-Men?
What?
Am I making this up? I thought he was Toad.
He may have been.
We are now live fact-checking this because I thought you were going to say that.
Hold on. Do you want me to look? All right, so
Well,
we have
well,
confirmed that Andy Serkis is not Toad from X-Men, but in another reality, maybe.
in the
Maybe
world
we'll
that
make it happen. If you're listening to this, Andy Serkis, you should play Toad. So I feel like we should finally talk about our paths as Batman.
yes, we have to. We can't leave that on the table. So we have recently together rewatched Twilight. How do we feel about Twilight, TJ?
It's bad, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. And I loved it as a kid. So I was definitely in love with Robert Pattinson as a middle schooler.
Yeah, it's bad. I don't disagree with you. I do, however, love it. I really enjoyed rewatching it. I think I loved it better as an adult even than I liked it as a teenager, but it's bad. He is not giving his best performance. But to be clear, like I think that Robert Pattinson is a good actor. I just think he was bad in that movie, which is probably directing more than it is acting.
Again, you're right. I think he is a good actor. He was good in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
He was good in, I just saw Tenet, and he was actually really good in that.
I haven't seen
Uh,
that.
yeah, it just came out. It's the new Christopher Nolan movie. So I went into it with the mindset of like, all right, let's see what our Pats can do. Like, how is he going to be
Yeah,
as Batman? And
yeah,
he did a good job. And just from this trailer, like, he's a completely different Batman than we've ever seen.
yeah.
But I'm digging it.
I'm digging it too. I have been a defender of it since the casting was announced. I know a lot of people were immediately mad, which is honestly, I feel like happens every time anything about Batman is announced. So I've
Oh, yeah.
stopped taking it seriously. But I thought I was excited, and seeing the trailer, I feel justified in being excited. This looks good. I think he's gonna do a good job.
Yeah. When they first announced our Pats as Batman, I didn't know what to expect, but like you said, everyone was down on him right away. And they were like, why would they cast this dude? He can't act. He is for girl franchises, blah, blah, blah. He's stupid. But they do that so many times. And like you said, especially with the Batman franchise, they did it with Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Mhm.
They did it with Anne Hathaway as
Mhm.
Catwoman. And then they did it with Ben Affleck as Batman. But every
Yeah.
time, they end up giving amazing performances. So I'm at the point where I trust the casting.
I do too. I mean, he might be terrible at it. I guess we will find out. But I feel like, what he's giving us in this trailer is good. What I know him to be capable of is good. I feel like it's gonna be good. I am one of the people that liked Batfleck. I haven't really disliked any of the Batman in any of the movies, really. I'm here for it. I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah, those smoky eyes won me over if I hadn't been already.
So speaking of memes, that one has definitely become a meme like crazy, but I am a defender of it. I maintain, somebody said this to me the other day and I had no idea who it was, so I can't credit them, but they mentioned the fact that if you look at all the Batman suits in the movies, a lot of times it looks like they have, grease paint on, but then when they take that mask off, it's like clean face. And I like this. I feel like it's more realistic. He has those smudges on because of his mask and the way like he had done the makeup. It makes sense that it's there. I think he looked good. I'm here for it.
Yeah, and like you said, more realistic, sticking with that trend, but also with just the vibe of the film, like it adds. So like that shot of him taking the mask off and his
Yes.
hair is just all over the place and longer than
Yes.
usual, and he has the smoky eyes, and it's such a gothic vibe, and
Yes.
almost like I don't want to say emo, but a little emo, and just a different Batman than we've seen. But I'm here for the darker gothic, and he's always broody, but
Yeah.
the look that they're going for is just so distinct, and I think people are gonna love it.
I I don't know what people are gonna think. I think I'm gonna love it. I can say that with utter
By
assurance.
people, I mean us. We're gonna love it.
I feel like we're gonna be out here standing for this movie on this podcast. I'm calling
Oh
it right
yeah.
now.
I'm
It could
already convinced this Batman is bisexual. He's got the smoky eye, he's got the hair, he's Robert Pattinson.
He's got chaos energy. Yes, I'm here
Yeah,
for it. I'm here
a
for it.
chaotic bisexual. It's him.
Yes. I am here for it. I'm here for it.
So the last thing I wanted to touch on with this Batman teaser trailer is that apparently there is a clip where Batman is flying up a stairwell, and on the stairs you see a ton of people, but one of them is supposedly wearing a Court of Owls mask.
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So you're going to have to Google. I have yet to see this for myself because it's a even more than a blink and you'll miss it thing. But apparently it's there. So you can Google it and find it. And I figured you would be into that because I know you're a Court of Owls girl.
I am. So I think I mentioned earlier that Scott Snyder is my original Batman writer, like the one I started reading with Batman Eternal, and of course then immediately started reading his run on Batman, which starts with the Court of Owls. I love the Court of Owls. I think it's so creative. I think it's so interesting. I love the storytelling of that one. Today is not our episode on Court of Owls, so I'm sure we'll get into it. But I am here for a secret society like that. Something is underlying the streets of Gotham. I love it. TJ knows, and I'm sure the readers will come to know because it definitely intersects with the Batman lore. I am a girl who loves a cult. And a secret society is just a few sips of Kool-Aid away from being a cult. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, to the shock of no one, Chris made me read the Court of Owls book. And I actually did also really enjoy it. At least the first half I was super into. The more self-contained portion I loved. So I would love to see that storyline adapted. And I think it could be a really good one for a younger R-Pat's Batman, where he's just getting established as Batman, but then he has this idealistic version of his family in his mind, and then if he finds out, oh my gosh, there's this secret society that's full of evil rich people and my parents may have been a part of it, like it could make him question his whole identity, and I would love to see broody R-Pats dealing with that.
We just want to see him staring out a window at the rain with his mascara, and that's all we want. I'm here for that. I would love a Court of Owls. I think it would be a great story to adapt. I think it would be challenging though, in that the story is usually told with the whole Bat family, right? Like Dick Grayson is usually a big part of it, and he's like getting recruited by the talons of the Court of Owls. So I would wonder how they would tell it, but I would be down for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows if it's just an Easter egg or if this is something that they're planning for the next sequel, or if it'll be like the third sequel. Who knows? But I would love to see it at some point.
I would be here for it. I'm definitely down for Court of Owls.
And I think that's all I have for the trailer. Do you have anything else you wanted to mention?
No, not about the trailer. I'm excited for this movie. I hope it still comes out in 2021. I know they're currently on delay because R-Pats has tested positive for COVID, but hopefully he'll recover quickly and they'll get back to filming, because I would love to see this movie next year. That would be amazing.
Me too. Any longer than next year, and I'm going to start wearing the smoky eye and being depressed.
I think you should do it anyway. It's a good look for you.
Maybe when we go to see it, we can wear matching smoky eyes.
I would absolutely wear smoky eyes with you and go see this movie.
Let's do it. It's a date.
It's a date. As far as our listeners go, I hope that you tune in next month. If you want to read along, we are reading the first volume of Grant Morrison's run on Batman and Robin. And our guest is going to be Ben Kahn, the writer of various comic books such as Griffin and Shaman and Heavenly Blues and the upcoming Renegade Rules, and an announced project with Jeremy Whitley that I don't know the title of yet because they haven't announced it, but I'm excited for that. And they will be coming on to talk about their love of all things Batman and this specific run.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk to Ben. And I actually read this Batman and Robin volume years and years and years ago. I was probably like 12 or 13. So I haven't read it since then, and I completely forget everything about it. So it'll be nice to refresh myself.
I am ready for it too. Grant Morrison is definitely the kind of author that's right up our alley. He has famously said that he definitely thinks Batman is a little bit gay. So look
Who
it up.
doesn't?
I mean, who doesn't? Look it up if you don't believe me. It's a real Grant Morrison quote. You can find me, Chris, on Twitter at The Myth of Psyche, where I talk about books, fandom, and pretty often Batman and his various queernesses. And you can find my co-host TJ at
Troythan 2, where I talk about all things book related and occasionally Batman related.
And you can find us both talking about Batman now at our podcast's official Twitter at Gotham Outsiders on Twitter or our Instagram.
And we'll be uploading our next episode the second Sunday of next month. And we'll be uploading the following episode the fourth Sunday of next month. And we'll be keeping that trend going forward.
So tune in, same bat time, same bat place, and join us for the next episode.